Every nation teaches its children a version of the past that feels complete. Names, dates, and victories are neatly arranged between glossy covers, but those pages hide a silent rule. History is written by those who hold the pen and the power. From empires to republics, every government has shaped its story to defend its image. Textbooks become mirrors, reflecting what leaders want to see, not what happened. The result is a comfortable illusion, a world of noble founders, justified wars, and perfect progress. But when you read the original letters, diaries, and censored drafts, that illusion cracks. The heroes are not spotless. The motives are not pure. And the truth, the full truth, rarely survives the editing table. So why do history books lie? The answer begins with those who decide what counts as history. Those who win decide what gets remembered. Victors build monuments, print textbooks, and erase their enemies with a pen instead of a sword. Defeated voices disappear into silence. The American Revolution tells us about liberty and courage, but British newspapers from 1776 described rebellion and chaos. Both accounts existed, yet only one survived in classrooms. After World War II, the Allies documented Nazi crimes, but under Allied supervision, archives were rewritten. Every photograph, every headline, every paragraph served a purpose. Even in ancient Rome, emperors censored historians. The more powerful the ruler, the cleaner his biography. When power writes the story, failure disappears, and what we call history becomes a curated memory, a version of truth made safe for public use. Schools don't exist to question power. They exist to maintain stability. Every curriculum simplifies, edits, and polishes the past until it's suitable for teenagers and politics. Colonialism becomes exploration. Exploitation becomes progress. Travel diaries and court records tell another story: land theft, slavery, the destruction of cultures. But those details vanish from the classroom. In the United States, slavery is reduced to a few paragraphs between independence and the Civil War. Students learn the dates of battles, but not the names of the people in chains. They memorize presidents, but not the systems that protected them. National identity depends on pride, and pride requires forgetting. Difficult stories are rebranded as mistakes or controversies. Curriculum boards remove topics that might divide communities. Publishers rewrite chapters to match government guidelines. What reaches students isn't history, it's a political compromise. Once lies are repeated long enough, they harden into truth, and generations grow up defending a version of the past that never existed. Truth lives in archives, but so do the gatekeepers. Documents are sealed, classified, or buried under bureaucracy. The longer they stay hidden, the safer the myth remains. During the Cold War, entire CIA operations were locked away for decades. Only when files were declassified did the world learn about interventions in Iran, Guatemala, and Chile, events that were denied for years. By then, the headlines had moved on. The Vatican kept records on Galileo and the Inquisition hidden for centuries. When those files were finally opened, the papers revealed politics, not holiness, and they showed fear, pride, and control. British colonial files describing torture in Kenya stayed sealed until survivors sued the government 50 years later. When archives are treated as weapons, history becomes a battlefield. The truth is not destroyed, it's delayed, and by the time it is released, the next generation has already memorized the LIE. People like to believe historians are neutral observers, but objectivity is a luxury of distance, and no historian truly has it. Every writer brings bias through the sources they select, the words they use, and the silences they leave. When textbooks call a rebellion a riot or an invasion, a liberation, they are making moral judgments disguised as facts. The same event can be heroism or treason depending on who describes it. The 1857 uprising in India is called the Sepoy Mutiny in British texts and the First War of Independence in Indian ones. History is not written with truth in mind, it is written with purpose, to inspire loyalty, justify policy, or bury guilt. The illusion of neutrality keeps readers from questioning who benefits from the story being told. Outside classrooms, media does the same work. Movies and television turn history into entertainment, and entertainment demands heroes. Complex figures become symbols, centuries shrink into sound bites. Christopher Columbus was long portrayed as the man who discovered America, while the massacres and enslavement that followed were left off screen. The American Civil War appeared noble and tragic in Hollywood for nearly a century, shaping memory more than any textbook ever could. Pop culture does not lie maliciously, it lies beautifully. It replaces reality with a story people want to believe, and once they fall in love with that myth, even evidence cannot break the spell. Modern nations use history as branding. Museums, monuments, and holidays sell selective pride. Politicians quote founders they barely understand. History becomes a product, packaged for mass approval. The fight over statues is not about stone, it is about identity. People defend the version of history that makes them feel righteous. Patriotism ties itself to a polished story, and questioning that story feels like betrayal. Myths survive not through censorship, but through affection. What do these lies protect? They protect the powerful from accountability. They protect economies built on injustice. They protect the illusion that progress is inevitable. When a nation believes it was always righteous, it stops asking how it maintains power today. When textbooks hide exploitation, society fails to recognize it in the present. False history is not harmless, it is the foundation of denial. Few books mention the human cost of industrialization or the environmental destruction of empire. These omissions are strategic. They teach obedience to progress instead of reflection on consequence. The past, once sanitized, becomes a weapon to justify the future. Yet real history survives. It hides in letters, oral traditions, and the work of those who refuse to look away. Entire movements have risen from rediscovered archives. The 1619 Project reframed the American story around slavery and its lasting impact. Indigenous scholars now restore records of land theft once buried by colonial governments. Each act of correction faces resistance but reclaims dignity for the erased. Real history is messy and painful, but it is also the only path to honesty. A nation brave enough to face its contradictions is stronger than one that hides them. To see through the lies, you must read differently. Question who funded the book. Notice what is missing between the chapters. Ask which voices are quoted and which are silent. Compare textbooks from different countries about the same event. The same war can look like victory in one and tragedy in another. History is not about memorizing facts. It is about recognizing patterns, how power repeats itself, how myths evolve, how silence protects privilege. Once you learn to read between the lines, the entire record changes. If most history books lie, the danger is not in the pages, it is in what people stop questioning. When societies accept edited truth, they repeat old mistakes. When nations worship myths, they build policies on fiction. Every war begins with a story of righteousness. Every empire begins with a story of destiny. Every injustice survives because someone says, "That is not who we are." But history proves it always is who we are, unless we choose to see clearly. The truth about the past is not meant to shame us, it is meant to teach responsibility. Only by confronting what was hidden can we decide what deserves to be remembered next? If you value truth over comfort, subscribe for more history the textbooks left behind.